I woke up this morning to see a lot of people online talking about the announced sequel for Ghost of Tsushima, this one titled Ghost of Yotei. And for a lot of reasons, some people are optimistic, other people are skeptical. I would probably fit more in the skeptical camp. Other people are a little bit more pessimistic given some of the casting choices for this game. I'll get more on that in a moment, but first let's look at this article from IGN. It's telling us some of the details that we have so far about it. The headline from this: Ghost of Tsushima sequel, Ghost of Yotei, announced with new protagonist and story set 300 years after original State of Play. That's where they announced it. It was the big announcement to close out State of Play, and one of the biggest surprises. Developer Sucker Punch showed off a significant look at footage too, including some gorgeous cinematics. And if you couldn't glean from the title, it'll focus on a different setting and a brand new protagonist, Atsu, moving away from Ghost of Tsushima's Jin Sakai. And I checked out the trailer for this, and it actually does look really good. But the first game was just a gorgeous game, fun gameplay. This one, you obviously don't know much about the gameplay so far. It was just cinematics, but I think this looked pretty good. And they're developing this specifically for the PlayStation 5, so it's going to have all the new technology available to it, or at least all the new technology that's available to Sony PlayStation 5 for this game. So I think it will continue on what we saw with Ghost of Tsushima and actually just look fantastic. Sucker Punch didn't reveal too much during the presentation, but we got a little more insight thanks to PlayStation blog post shortly after. It'll take place in 1603, 300 years after the events of Ghost of Tsushima, in the land surrounding Mount Yotei, known as Hokkaido today. Sucker Punch calls it a far cry from the organized samurai clans who live in Tsushima, and it's a setting for an original story we can't wait to tell. The blog post went on to say that they wanted to kind of keep many of the core elements of Ghost of Tsushima in play, but they also wanted to have a fresh spin on it, emphasizing more of the ghost element to it, and really give the player the feeling of a wandering warrior. We also wanted to continue to innovate to create something fresh but familiar. We looked beyond Jin Sakai's story and the island of Tsushima and shifted our focus to the idea of a ghost instead. The post continued, as Sucker Punch, we love origin stories, and we wanted to explore what it could mean to have a new hero wearing a ghost mask and uncovering a new legend. This led us to Ghost of Yotei, a new protagonist, a new story to unfold, and a new region of Japan to explore. If I was to judge us just by this announcement and trailer alone, I would say this looks pretty good. I loved the first game, so I'm curious what they're going to do with it. I don't care if it's not going to follow the same story as Jin, because I like the idea where it just makes Japan as a whole feel more epic when you have these stories going around all over the place and it's not just centered around one person, because it makes it seem like the whole country is involved with it, as opposed to just having a series of isolated incidents in a small island of Japan. Unfortunately, though, that's where a lot of the goodwill, I think, is starting to end, because after this, people started looking into it a little bit further, and we saw it in the trailer. The playable character is a female character, and I know some people are probably going to be upset about that aspect of it alone, but frankly, I don't care, and I don't see a whole lot of people upset about that particularly. I see more people concerned about the casting choice for this lead character, because a lot of people start looking up who they get to voice her and stuff like that, and come to find out it's this person, Erika Ishii, and just looking at her Twitter profile, there's just a lot of red flags. I mean, first of all, gender, all pronouns. Maybe that could be considered a joke, but if you look at a lot of the stuff that she does post on here, it just screams of woke activism and things like that. And having her involved with it in and of itself isn't necessarily a bad thing, but there are red flags with it, especially when she's made statements such as this in the past. Here, just take a look.
I'm just like so into Harry Potter, but also, can I say turfs? Can I say turfs? Turfs. And it
Yeah, so brave, so stunning and brave. But you can see this type of person right there. And I've said this in past videos. I think I even said it yesterday talking about Ubisoft. When the companies hire people like this, the reason it's a red flag is because it either suggests that they're trying to build up an excuse ready. So they'll be like, oh, well, if this game doesn't work, we can just blame misogynists because they didn't like a strong female character. Even though there was a strong female character in Ghost of Tsushima, the character of Yuna was, you could describe her as a strong female character, and she was fine. People didn't have an issue with it because the game was all around still a pretty good game. But also, when you have people like this working for you publicly, then it just kind of suggests the culture at the company are people who will emphasize these aspects of it. And that's why I don't like a lot of that woke activism stuff inserted in the games, because it shows the people working on it don't necessarily have quality gameplay or quality movies or TV shows at the forefront. Their main objective is activism. And when you're doing that, a lot of the elements like quality storytelling, character development, gameplay, those will kind of fall by the wayside because activism is more important. And that's why when I see this, I'm like, eh. And this really caught my attention when I was just scrolling through my X feed and see a lot of people I follow are posting this, talking about how she preemptively blocked them. These are people who would be considered a little bit more edgy or anti SJW type thing. The actress for the Ghost of Tsushima sequel is actively blocking people on Twitter. That will work wonders for the game, I am sure. I never spoken with or interacted with this person in my entire life. Blocked. And that's also another bad sign when they go through and start just blocking people, or when they've already blocked people. She hasn't privated her account yet, so I will give credit for that, but I don't know. Maybe she's just too narcissistic to do that. But when people just preemptively block their account or private it, then that just suggests like, okay, there's a lot of stuff in there you don't want to get out. So that's why you're doing this. I do not care that they have me blocked. I'm defending your casting thus far, and I'll continue to do so until more information about the game is released. I'm a fair man. I'm also a man who knows his own correct pronouns, but hey, fair is fair, still fair. And I think that's kind of a good way to go about doing this, because like I said, it's not necessarily in and of itself a bad sign when you have someone like this cast for the lead role of the game, because it just could be that's who they hired for the job. Maybe people over at Sucker Punch are truly trying to actually just hire the best people. And even though she might be a little bit crazy, they're thinking like, okay, well, she just fits the character of what we're trying to do, so we'll just cast her anyway. But it's not necessarily going to affect the characterization or the story or the gameplay, and that stuff still could be pretty good. Yellow Flash, I saw, who was also blocked by her, had a pretty good post about this. I'm going to play the game in Japanese, just like the last one. English voice actors are usually idiot people. I got to know them during the Vic drama. This isn't abnormal. They're awful, hyper liberals, and insecure because they're discount actors in the eyes of Hollywood. I mean, that is kind of true when it comes to English voice actors. Are kind of thought of as like, oh, well, you're not really an actor. You're just a voice actor. Now, I don't necessarily subscribe to that, but there is a huge insecurity when it comes to voice actors because of that element to it. In Japan, it's not necessarily the same thing. Japanese voice actors are usually highly regarded, just like Hollywood actors. So maybe that's the case. I think that is the wise choice of playing in Japanese. I mean, I played the first one in Japanese with subtitles on because I don't know, that just felt like the right way of playing that game. So I'll be doing the same thing here. So honestly, if they didn't cast her at all, it really wouldn't matter, because it's not like she's a writer for the game. She is just the voice actor. I don't even know if she's even doing the motion capture or anything like that. Probably not. I'm thinking they probably just hire someone else to do the motion capture stuff and then just hire her to voice it. And they also have a Japanese person voicing it too. So I don't know. I think her involvement is being a little bit more overblown, because being the voice actor behind the main character of the game, you have the spotlight on you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's indicative of the company itself or even necessarily the culture at the company. But like I said, there are certain red flags, but I do like what some people are saying. They're like, well, this isn't good, but let's wait until we see a little bit more before we actually make our final judgment. And Vera Dark, I think she had a real sensible take on this one. Ghost of Yotei looks great. Don't forget the developers of Ghost of Tsushima became ambassadors for the island because of the amazing job they did. I have faith in them to deliver another massive W. Hope we see more soon. And yeah, I want to see more about it. And for people who don't know, yeah, Ghost of Tsushima was wildly popular in Japan, something that we're not really seeing with Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed Shadows. So I do think there is a lot of potential for this game, and I understand people kind of having that worry about it, considering the actor that they have playing the lead character in this. And I don't think that's completely unfounded here, but I do like the approach. Like, okay, well, this is bad. There's a lot of other good about it. So let's just kind of wait until we see more before we pass final judgment. And if we start hearing statements from the creators of the game saying like, yeah, they want to have more representation of women and they wanted to have an excuse for strong women, especially if they start attacking the fans and say like anyone who doesn't like this is just a istophobe and other things like that, well then, yeah, you should feel justified in passing up this game. But I think right now I'm personally willing to give it a shot. But let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. Do you agree with me, disagree? I mean, because like I said, I can understand people going either way on this matter. So I'm kind of curious if I'm just missing something here. I'm open to be convinced one way or the other. Let's just put it that way. But if you haven't already, make sure you click that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with the latest entertainment news. And if you can, click that like button and share this video out there because it really helps out with the channel. Thank you.